Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Whole sports all plays.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday morning. It is October 27th, 10:05 on the East Coast. You are tuning in to ASAP in the Morning here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn, and of course live on the Roku app, Tiki Live, and the Fox D Network. I am joined this morning by my partner in crime, my co-host, Ray Cruz. How you doing this morning, Ray?
I am good. A little tired, but I am good. We had the fall festival at my church last night, so I didn't get home until about 9:30, 10 o'clock. Then I had to get up early this morning, take kids to school, be the bus driver, and then updated some stuff here for the network, and then came on the show. So, busy morning.
This man is a man of the people, and he gives, and he's still here joining us this morning on ASAP in the Morning.
Oh, I forgot to tell you, too, I did get the Luke Bryan tickets for tonight's concert in Jacksonville for my wife, so that was a top priority, too. So
smart man. smart man. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. Well, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We got a few people tuning in right now. Like I said, we are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and of course live on the Roku app, Tiki Live, and Fox D Network. It is showtime, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get into today's topics, we'll let you know about all the social media platforms that the All Sports All Plays Network is currently on and sharing content to. You can find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. You can find us all right there. On YouTube, search ASAP Sports Network. On Facebook at All Sports All Plays. On Twitter at ASAP Network 1. And on Twitch at ASAP Network. Hit the like, hit the sub, hit the share buttons. Comment during the streams. Many times we like to interact with, especially on this show, we like to interact with everybody, all the viewers out there. Answer any questions. And yes, don't forget to send us stars on Facebook if you would like to support not only the show, but support the network as well. All that stuff helps out the show tremendously. Any likes, subscribes, shares, any of that kind of stuff helps us out quite a bit. So thank you so much in advance for doing that for us. We got a jam-packed show today. Lots of NFL news that have come out in the last 24 hours or so. A little bit of baseball news coming out of the MLB postseason, and a little bit of NBA too. So we'll hop right into it. Tonight, first things first. Tonight we've got the Baltimore Ravens traveling to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers at Thursday Night Football. Ravens are coming in at 4-3. Buccaneers are coming in at 3-4. Both teams technically leading their divisions. But man, I don't think this is a spot that going into the season, anybody really expected either of these teams to be sitting right now, especially the Buccaneers at 3-4. But Thursday Night Football tonight on Amazon Prime, what are we expecting to see realistic? I mean, really, what are we expecting to see from Tampa Bay tonight trying to get back to 500?
We're going to see a 45-year-old Brady versus a young Lamar Jackson matchup. So you got a runner and you got a passer type mentality. Brady doesn't run too much, but Brady does do a good third and one completion rate. He's got a high in that. That's the only time he will do a run if it's a quarterback keeper on a very, very short span. But Brady has not looked himself here lately. We don't know what's going on. We know his personal life is in a little bit of a shamble. I don't know if that's taking the toll, an effect on him. Like certain athletes, it does. Look at Mike Tyson's situation with Robin Givens and the way he turned out to be. So we don't know if Brady's going to turn out like that, but we don't think Brady's going to go get a tattoo on his face. That's one thing. But
let's hope not.
But to me, Brady needs to get back to being Brady, which is being a high, efficient passer, getting his team back into certain things. But on the other hand, you got a Ravens defense has been lackluster to a certain point. But they are 2-1 on the road. Baltimore is. Tampa, a realistic 1-2 at home. So they're totally different opposite directions right now. But to get to this point, Mike Evans got to get back to being Mike Evans. Catch the freaking ball, not dropping it.
Yeah, drops have definitely hurt him early to this point of the season. The Bucks at 3-4. They started out 2-0, and then they've dropped 4 of their last 5 games. One thing to take note of in this matchup is with all the injuries, missing, not being on the same page as wide receivers, Tom Brady still leads the league in passing yards with over 1,900. He's only got 1 pick on the year, but this offense is still 25th in the league in scoring. They only score just under 18 points a game.
17.7.
Yeah, 17.7, just under 18 a game, and you gotta wonder, like, okay, at what point is this offense going to, at what point is this offense going to break out? And I think this game has the possibility because the Ravens defense has been kind of up and down. Look at some of their previous games that have been super high scoring affairs. There's a possibility that the Buccaneers offense could get back on track tonight. But they've been doing really, really well with their pass rush. Last weekend they got a season high 5 sacks against Cleveland. So they maybe their defense is back to kind of what we expect out of a John Harbaugh defense and being able to bring pressure. But I mean I think that's the offense, that's the outlook. That's what we have to look at in this game is the Bucs offense versus that Ravens defense. Who's gonna show that consistency? Is it gonna be the Ravens defense picking up where they left off last week, bringing that pressure, making Brady's life a nightmare, and the Ravens could then end up running away with this game if that becomes the case. But the Buccaneers, man, injuries have not stopped at all for them. They had that offense. They had those offensive line injuries early in the season. They're tonight missing 3/4 of their starting secondary. They're also missing. They're missing left guard Luka Godecki. They're missing Antoine Winfield Jr., Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Russell Gage, Cameron Brate. They're missing a ton of players. And that, I think, has been one of the big reasons why they're still sitting at 3-4 right now.
Yeah, and also missing players. Baltimore will be missing Calais Campbell. He is ruled out today with an illness. We don't know what illness is about. But if on the other hand, you look at they got a veteran linebacker in Justin Houston and Jason Pierre-Paul, whatever
Jason
JP.
Pierre-Paul.
Yeah, there you go. A tongue twister. But Baltimore will become the only second team after 1994 Green Bay Packers to have three defensive players on the active roster with at least 90 sacks. Although Campbell is ruled out for this game. They said a weekend, but it's a weekday game. But anyway, Pierre-Paul spent the past 4 seasons with Tampa Bay. He signed with the Ravens last month. So that's going to be an interesting tidbit. He comes back to his former team. Let's see what the three-finger monster can do. I call him the three-finger monster because he lost a finger in the firecracker 4th of July, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know how they do it, but they did it. Anyway, but on the other hand, Baltimore finishing drives. Baltimore has not finished a drive in a few things. He said, Jim Harbaugh quoted, this is from Jim Harbaugh himself, says, obviously it gets tougher in the red zone. The field gets small. The passing lanes are tighter, and you got to execute. Jason Tucker has kicked 5 field goals of under 35 yards over the past 3 games. So Baltimore has trouble scoring in the red zone. You get them in the red zone, 9 times out of 10, they're going to probably kick a field goal. Because right now, Lamar Jackson can't seem to get the ball in these tight windows when he's throwing the football. So,
yeah, getting in the red zone and being able to score obviously it's extremely crucial to teams like Baltimore and even Tampa Bay to an extent. Being able to have that confidence that you're going to be able to score points. I think this game is going to balance strength versus strength in the aspect that the Buccaneers defense is anchoring. They're holding up this Buccaneer team right now. They're top 10 in defense. They're top 6 in passing, and they're going to be matching up against the 5th best rushing offense in the NFL in the Baltimore Ravens. Now, if it's been pretty well documented this year that if you want to beat Baltimore, you have to contain Lamar Jackson and make him beat you throwing the football. Make him beat you with his arm. And that's something that the Buccaneers do really, really well. They're 6th in the NFL in pass defense. They're middle of the road in rush defense, which could pose a problem. But Baltimore's missing Gus Edwards. I think J.K. Dobbins is still on the injured list with his knee. I don't see a timetable for his return right now, unless he's out. Yeah, he's out until week 12. So you're down a couple of running backs already in Baltimore. But I think that's the matchup to watch for. It's strength versus strength. Baltimore's run game versus Tampa Bay's defense. And not necessarily their rush defense, but are they going to load the box? And are they going to have a spy or something? Because they like to run that RPO, that run pass option, quite a bit with Lamar Jackson and kind of let him make those decisions and get out in the open field. If you can put a spy on him, or if you can try to help contain and make him beat you with his arm, he's shown some struggles in that, especially in some big games, in some big games earlier this year. So I think that's a matchup to really watch out for. And if you're the Buccaneers, you got to key in on that, and you got to make sure that Lamar doesn't beat you with his feet.
Well, if you do that, then you're taking a defender away from the passing game, because that one defender's got to stay there and spy on him. So that leaves who you going to put on him? A linebacker? Lamar Jackson's faster than most of the linebackers that Tampa Bay's got. So you can't really put a linebacker sitting there. So if you're going to take a safety and do it, then you're going to lose something. You're going to lose your help over the top. So, I mean, if Lamar can figure out if they are spying on him, what I would do is run Lamar, roll him out, see the spy come with him. That means you're going to have somebody open with the person left vacated that spot. So you just put it over top of the spy guy, boom, let him run forward. I mean, that's a smart play to do it. But, again, the problem you have with Lamar Jackson is when you pass rush him, if you're not in your lanes, he will kill you. So if I was Tampa, go your spy route and risk him rolling out and throwing right where the spy left vacated the spot. That could be open all game long until they stop it. So the one thing you want to do here, if you were Tampa to rush this guy, is you take your defensive end, you rush up the field, and then you come back towards him. Do not rush at him. Do not rush towards him. You rush up the field, force him down low, and when you have a guy breaking free in the middle to help you out. If the defensive end comes in his normal pass rush into Lamar Jackson, that means he can either spin out of that and he can break free. So But I'm talking about you take your defensive end, you rush up the field, not diagonally towards them, but up the field. You force them back down low to your help, and that's how you stop them on that. But if you're going to vacate what you're saying is do a spy on him, then you're going to roll him out, if I was the Ravens, to have the spy come with him, and then just throw it over the top of the spy's head to where he just vacated to a wide open guy. So you got to pick your poison. Either you spy on them or you don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's always the dilemma with a guy like Lamar Jackson, who is a dual threat quarterback. You know, that's what teams have to key in on. And their passing game has struggled a bit this season, and that's a strength for Tampa Bay. But with the injuries they have, it's gonna be a next man up mentality for Tampa Bay. So I look at this. I look at kind of how this passing game stacks up against the rest of the league, and Baltimore's 25th. They're 25th in passing yards, but they're top 5 in touchdowns. So they're, it's not necessarily trying to push the ball down the field a lot. They're picking their spots, but the passing game has struggled a little bit more in recent weeks, but they're relying heavily on that run game. And part of that is broken plays where Lamar scrambles, and that's where you got to be able to, I don't know if it's mixing up and doing some zone blitzes or trying to kind of get his eyes moving, thinking something's there, like disguising your coverages a little bit. Not really sure exactly how Tampa Bay's going to want to go about it, but I think if there's any team right now that could put Lamar Jackson in some uncomfortable situations, it's Tampa Bay's defense. That's still the strength of this team.
Yeah, but then my question is, does Brady go 3 straight games with a loss? He hasn't done it in a while.
It's been a long time. It's been a really long time since that's happened. I think this is going to be. I don't think it's going to be like a lot of the Thursday night games that we've seen where it's a doozy. It might end up being like last Thursday's Cardinals Saints game, where I would not be surprised. I don't even know what the over under is, but I'd pick the over just as a shot. Just as a shot.
I got it for you. The over and under is 46 points.
Okay. So you're talking like a 20. All right, 23, 24-21 type game.
Tampa Bay is favored by 2.
All right. Yeah, I think Tampa Bay's offense, they still have, there's still some bright spots on this team. Like I said, they can still move the ball. They're just not scoring points. And at some point that something's got to give there to where this offense can get back to the offense that we've grown accustomed to seeing in Tampa with Tom Brady at the helm.
Now, have you ever seen a team that is scoring 17.7 a game, but also giving up 17.7 a game? Tampa's doing it.
Yeah, that goes back to my point earlier. This defense is the anchor of this team. They're literally holding this team together right now because you got so many injuries on offense. They're not clicking right now. They've basically abandoned the run. They're dead last in running the football. And even when they do run it, it's not effective. I think I want to say their yards per carry is like one of the worst in the league. Without even looking up the actual stats. That's pretty accurate.
Well,
let me see here.
Tampa's giving up 210.4 per pass on defense and giving up 118.3 on rushing on defense. They have a total of 328.7 yards they've given up this year on defense.
Yeah, Tampa Bay is averaging dead last in the league with 3 yards per attempt on the ground. But they've also run the 5th least amount of times. They've got the 5th least amount of attempts in the league. Morning, Dre. What's up? How you doing, Dre?
Hey, Dre, man. Hey, if you want to bet on this game, dude, the over is 46.0. That's what you like to hear over the over and under. So I just want to give you that if you want to bet for this game. So,
so I look at it. I look at a couple things with that. They're not running the ball a ton, but when they are, they're not effective. They're dead last. They're dead last in the league in yards per attempt. They're fifth worst, sixth worst in the NFL in just rushing attempts. So they're not even dedicating part of their game plan to running the football, which is going to help keep guys like Lamar Jackson off the field, and it's going to help keep your defense fresh. This defense, especially now with the stacking of injuries they have leading into this game, missing most of their secondary starters in their secondary, it's going to be that much more important to be able to. I really don't care who it is at that point, if it's Leonard Fournette or anybody else. Like, just find somebody that can run the football and find a gap and get you 4 yards a carry. I think that's going to go a long way to helping out Brady and the rest of this offense.
well, if you're talking about that, Baltimore is only giving up 105.1 yards a game. Your little 4 yards going to be a little bit hard to get in this ball game,
especially when they don't hand it off to anyone but Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette has about 95% of all the carries on the team this season. Rachaad White is the next leading rusher, and he's got 26 carries to Fournette's 103. So they don't even use anybody else other than Leonard Fournette this year. And he just hasn't really looked good either. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's age or just lack of vision, or I don't really know what's going on with him, but he's a lot less effective this year than I think he's ever been since he got to Tampa.
If you use a running back more than what you want to use him for, then when he got to Tampa, he already had some tread on by the Jacksonville Jaguars running them his first few years. So, when you go buy a used car, you got to look at the tires. Sometimes the tires are worn out and they don't last long when you buy the car. So
yeah, get that Carfax.
When you get Leonard Fournette, he ran the ball more times than he did in Jacksonville, and most of the runs for him in Jacksonville was up the middle. So guess what? He was taking all them pounding and hitting. So it's going to wear on the running back these days. I mean, running back lives these days are not up to where they used to be. You run the trials on the tires, so.
Yeah, that's that's something that it's been well documented with Leonard Fournette, how much he got run into the ground by Jacksonville. By the time he left, he wasn't very effective there either. So you knew what you were getting with him, but you would hope that he would be better than what he's playing right now. And some of that might also just be the play calling. Like, if they're calling just halfback dive like they used to with Fournette in Jacksonville, that's not a smart use of a guy like Leonard Fournette. Yes, you want him to run between the tackles, but get some movement in the offensive line. Try to kick the defensive ends out and create a gap, between the guard and tackle. Try to come up with something. And part of that might just be the fact that they're so depleted on the offensive line, but they got to do something. They have to try to do something else, or find someone else that is they got to find someone else that can run the ball, or at least get the ball into someone else's hands in the run game, because clearly utilizing Fournette the way that they're utilizing him now is not working, but they have no depth. that they can't do anything else. That they're kind of put themselves in this position. I think Jerry Jeudy would be a great fit for either of these teams. I think he'd be a great fit for either of these teams. I don't know if Denver's completely in the fire sale mode yet, so that'll be an interesting scenario to watch over the next week. The trade deadline is Tuesday, so I guess that kind of brings up. We'll kind of transition that into the next segment here. That thank you, appreciate it. Yes, today is my birthday.
And how old are you?
I am a young and spry 35 years old.
Wow, I'll be 51 next year.
Yes, so thank you for the birthday shout out. Appreciate it.
Oh, happy birthday! Hold up, I gotta sing happy birthday to you. That's all right. I want to spare everybody, my singing ability. Oh, Dre said happy birthday too.
That's right. Thank you, Dre. I appreciate it.
Hold up.
I appreciate it.
I'll do a quick Dre impression.
There you go.
How about that, Dre? Hey.
I was expecting you to like get into character and oh yeah.
Oh.
Getting into character this morning. Oh man, absolutely. All right, so that brings up a good topic. The trade deadline is coming up on Tuesday. It's at 4 p.m. At 4 p.m. on Tuesday. So I would say I know this morning. CBS writer Cody Benjamin put out an article about one deal that each team should make. Bunch of different scenarios there. Damian, you're missing it, man. I don't know if you're just tuning in, but Ray's in all, his Dre character. Dre Montez's co-host for College Football Breakdown. He's in doing his best Dre impression right now here on the show. But I would say of these, of this list, or I guess from your perspective, Ray, who's somebody that you're looking that could be traded at the deadline? Like it's almost a guarantee you think they should probably get traded.
Yeah. I want the Jaguars to go out and pick me a corner. I need some corners on the Jags, man. The Jags passing defense is just ferocious. I mean, we have no corners that get up. We need a good lockdown corner. So, me, personally, either I'm looking at a corner for the Jacksonville Jaguars or go get me some more wide receiver help and some more tight end help. Ingram is all right, but we need some more tight ends help. We need something to go. But also, to me, I agree with Dre. I think Jeudy needs to either go to Tampa or go to Green Bay where he can utilize the skill, because right now Hack is not utilizing the skills. And to me, I hate to say it, but I think Denver missed out with Russell Wilson. I think they were one player away until they traded all the assets to get Russell Wilson. And then they got a coach. So now it made them a player and a coach away. So to me, I think Nathaniel Hackett should be gone after the Jacksonville Jaguar beats the Denver Broncos. I agree with that. Submitted in our things about it. But I hate to tell Nate that if the Jacksonville Jaguars play pretty good over in London, they have a better win record than they do at home in Jacksonville on per se. So I think it's going to be a treat. If Russell Wilson don't go on Sunday against the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think they have no shot against the Jacksonville Jaguars, because this is not your Jacksonville Jaguars anymore. This is not a team to go out and get blown out. They haven't been blown out all season long. They have lost most games by 6 points or less this season. So on top of that, to me, I'll agree. I think Jeudy should be either traded to Tampa or Green Bay. I I wouldn't mind seeing him come to Jacksonville, but we're not going to go out and get a wide receiver like that. I think we're more looking on the defensive side, trying to get a corner and some more pass rusher on the defense. That's what I would like to see. To me, I would like to go and hit Baltimore and bring back the mayor of Jacksonville back, Calais Campbell. I think they made a mistake when Coughlin traded him out of that, when they got rid of him. I think that would turn the defense down. I think they need to bring the heart and soul back. So go out and get me Calais Campbell. Thank you.
Thank you for coming to his TED Talk. Damian says he could see Carson Wentz getting traded. That's a possibility. And the only reason I would tend to agree, I don't think it'll happen, but the only reason I would tend to agree is Ron Rivera does love him some Taylor Heineke. He does love him some Taylor Heineke, and for whatever reason, Carson Wentz, everywhere he's gone, go back last year with the Indianapolis Colts. For whatever reason, I mean, there were a few reasons that were documented of why he wasn't working out in that locker room. But on the field, he produced. He did well. So I think there are some teams that might be willing to make a trade for somebody like a Carson Wentz. One of the other names that I saw before asked about Claypool to the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks would be buyers of, I don't know about another wide receiver, but it is, that is a possibility. I would not be surprised if Pittsburgh sells off somebody. Chase Claypool is the popular name right now, but I would not be surprised to see if somebody like a Chase Claypool does get traded. The biggest name that I've seen so far is Roquan Smith in Chicago. Since the Chicago Bears did just trade Robert Quinn to the Eagles for a 4th round pick, there's a possibility of they could continue to trade more and more players. Roquan Smith was the big one, especially in the offseason. We didn't really know what to expect as far as it was he even going to suit up? He was trying to sit out, and there was a whole mess for a while. So that's always a possibility that the Bears could continue to sell off pieces. And that's always a question mark surrounding that. It's a little weird to me that they are seeing as the position they're in, why they would want to trade their best pass rusher to an undefeated Eagles team. That if the Bears are in a fairly weak NFC, that if they're able to continue to run the ball and play defense the way that they have been so far this year, they do realistically have an outside chance of making the playoffs, especially where it sits right now. So that tells me that the Bears organization feels like that they aren't in a position right now to want to make a push for the playoffs. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just got to know what your window is. Yeah, Ron, that trade was a little wild. Not necessarily for the 4th round pick, but the fact that the Bears traded away their best pass rusher to the Eagles. It's, you're staying in the NFC. You're in a playoff race right now, and you're trading off one of your best 2 assets in Chicago. That tells the fan base, that tells the rest of the team that, hey, we still don't think that we're in a position to make a push for the playoffs, in a position, even though we're sitting at 3-4, tied for second in the division, we're not in a position to make that push. So we're just going to start selling people off so that way we can, I don't know if they're trying to tank or whatever, but I agree with you, Ron. Make it make sense. If you're Chicago, make it make sense.
I said fire sale in Chicago. Fire sale in Chicago. That's what I said. Hey, if they want to get Roquan Smith out of the way, just call Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll be glad to take him off your hands.
A team, I would think a lot of the teams like a Houston Texans, Detroit Lions, those types of teams are probably going to be in sell mode. And yeah, Ron makes the point that they should have traded him for a weapon and help Fields. This is the weird thing, and we've talked about this a few times on this show. This is the weird thing about the NFL. It's not like the NBA where you would trade a player for a player, or you would trade a player for first round picks. In the NBA, that's a much more direct correlation. But in the NFL, it's you're trading a guy and you're always trying to trade for picks. Very rarely do you see guys being traded for other players, which to us as fans, it kind of is a little mind-boggling. Like a guy like Robert Quinn, you would think you could try to get that 4th round pick and a player. But that's obviously not what happened. I just, it is a little head scratching. So to come back, make it make sense. Make it make sense, Chicago.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, this guy right here. I would hate to tell you, but Jaguars are not getting Christian Kirk away. I'm sorry. We need help at wide receiver, and he's about a bright spot. Him and Say Jones. We can give you the American Idol singer, Marvin. We can give you Jones. The great American Idol singer. We can give you him. He really had done too much for us, but still, Christian Kirk and Say Jones. Nah, Jacksonville will keep them. So you had to come out with a little bit better trade to get that. But Roquan Smith. Train a defensive player for an offensive player? No. No.
Yeah, Anthony's got a question. Is Akers' trade value low because he's not fully healthy? I think that is part of it. I think that's part of why he's clearly not in agreement with whatever role he's been told he's going to have by Sean McVay. There's clearly, you can kind of see the correlation that they're not on the same page. He's frustrated. He's struggling. He wants a bigger role. I wouldn't be surprised to see Akers get traded, but I would see, knowing that James Robinson got traded for a 6th round pick, I think at best, Cam Akers gets traded for a 5th round pick or worse. That's where that trade happens. But the Rams aren't going to make that trade just for a pick because they're in win now mode. So that might be one of those cases where you might see a player for player trade. I don't know what the value is at that level then. I think that would probably one of the few player for player trades, but you look around the league, I mean, if I'm the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm calling the Rams and saying, hey, Cam Akers, let's talk. Because they definitely need something other than Leonard Fournette.
Let me answer this, guys. Damien, let me answer this right here. He doesn't have an agent. You know why he doesn't have an agent? He is his agent. He has turned himself into an agent. He can trade his own self if he wanted to. It's not tampering. He is his agent. He has listed himself as his agent. Point blank. If a player fires his agent, he becomes his agent. So I'm just letting you know he can be traded because he's acting on his behalf of himself, and he can. And the only thing is, he has a lawyer on the side to read the contract. That's the difference. So he can get traded.
Here's a hypothetical. Rams. You said Rams need a wide receiver. Yes, they do. Buccaneers call up. Hey, we want we'll give you Scotty Miller for Cam Akers. You say no to that?
Yeah, wouldn't do it.
No?
Nope.
Even though you need wide receiver help and you got a guy in Cam Akers who's definitely doesn't want to play for you anymore.
No. You got to up the pot a little bit. Now you give me that guy and plus a draft pick, then you might be in the ballpark. But you're not gonna give me a person that's not, in there. What? Maybe he's part number 2 on the depth chart.
Scotty Miller's not high on the depth chart, but it's extra depth for the Rams, something they need. Can we get Julio too? I don't think, no offense to Julio, I don't think anybody's gonna want Julio anymore. He's not the same Julio. Odell Beckham is still out there. That's a great point. He still hasn't signed anywhere, and I don't think he will sign until as late as possible in the season. Not only for health reasons, but I just don't think right now there's a ton of a market out there for him because of the uncertainty of what his health is. Is he coming off that injury? What is he, what's he going to look like? We haven't really seen, I haven't seen any kind of like workout videos or anything to show me that he's still got a lot of that explosion. You obviously lose a little bit with ACL, but these elite level athletes, a lot of times they can kind of get back to whatever level they were at. But Odell, I think he's going to wait until as late as possible, find the team that he thinks is going to give him the best opportunity to win a ring, and that's where he'll go sign.
Well,
so I think the Chiefs might be in that conversation. I wouldn't even be surprised if he goes to some place like, I think Buffalo's kind of too much. I don't think he'd want to be up there in the winter.
There has been rumors that Eli Manning has been in talk with him to try to get him to come back to the Giants. The Giants has been speculating, putting interest out there. They have been talking to him. Saquon Barkley has been rumored to be talking to OBJ and the possibility of him, a team coming back. But the only problem with the Giants is he doesn't want Daniel Jones as the quarterback.
And I can't blame him. I can't blame him. Yeah, the Giants would be definitely an incredible story. Washington D. Payne's on the trade block with at least a first-round pick. I am of the camp. If I'm an NFL team, I'm not trading a first-round pick for anybody. Not especially mid-season like that, because you don't know what where your standing is. You see that on trade night and leading up to draft night, and on of first round picks getting traded. And they're usually future first round picks along with very rarely do we see guys get traded for first round picks at the trade deadline. So just for kind of that reason alone, I don't think that would be. Look at in a very rough example, look at Christian McCaffrey. Not to say that at his current state he's worth a first round pick, but that some teams like a Rams, if they had one, they would have traded one. I think a guy in that category, if his value is around a first round pick, teams will probably offer seconds, thirds, combination of 3 or 4 picks for that player instead of using a first round pick, because those are so valuable to use on draft night to help. It helps with the long-term financials of your team. You can lock guys in for 4 to 5 years. First round picks in the NFL are so much more valuable than they are in the NBA from that perspective. So I don't see any teams trading a first round pick at the trade deadline for any player whatsoever.
Basically, when you see a first round draft pick, and it's been reflected the last few times, is during the night of the trade, the draft, because most people change their first round draft pick with other teams for the placement of where they want to be at drafting. So day and age of now, we probably won't, like you said, we probably won't say it because Christian McCaffrey was the possibility the best option out there with the choice of getting the first round draft pick, and they really didn't do it. They only went with a second round draft pick. So the day of the first round draft picks are more like going to be on draft day when they're trading their draft, if they're trying to move up in the upper echelon in the draft. So basically you're going after, so now teams are saying, hey, we'll give you second on down for these guys, but we're not going to give you our first round draft pick until draft night, so.
Yeah, speaking of that, that's something that we kind of talked about a little bit already for Robert Quinn going to the Eagles for a 4th-round pick. From the Bears' perspective, kind of, I know Damian made the comment that they're not in a position. They're not in a position to make that push for the playoffs. Said the Bears are in rebuild mode. Makes sense to get offseason draft capital. I think that's where the Bears think they are right now, is they're not in a position to make a deep playoff push. So they want to get rid of potential contracts that are gonna tie them up. They want to open up their cap space. And so that makes sense. But what does this move for the Eagles? What does this move do? What does this move do for them sitting at the top of the NFC East already?
It makes the Dallas Cowboys start squirming in their pants with this move. Yes, it does. It makes Dak Prescott start twimmering a little bit because now they added another pass rusher to this defense. Like they said, a comment earlier, the richer keeps getting richer. The rich keep getting richer. Yes, it does. But it also helps out the Chicago Bears, too, bulking that $70 million deal as a free agent. Now it absorbs Quinn's 2002 salary from the books. And now it gives them a plenty more operational room underneath the cap. That's one good thing about it. But also, it gives the Eagle enough formidable another defensive player that gets richer. The defense of that side is getting a lot healthier and getting a little bit more depth now. So now they can come at you in waves. Instead of just doing blitz package, they can run blitz all game long because they got players now they can change out. It's a depth chart move. And I applaud the Eagles for the move. It's a great chance of getting bigger and bigger, chance of getting you back to the playoffs, chance of getting you back to the Super Bowl. So, for the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC East, you're now going to be behind the 8 ball. Danny Dimes, you might not be running no more against the Eagles because Quinn will be right there to flatten you. So, they putting the league, they putting the statement out in the NFC East. To beat us, you got to beat our blitz. And guess what? We just got another depth person on our blitzing package. And it's going to be it's going to be an all-out blitz. So I'm going to tell you, the Eagles' defense has been solidified now into another echelon of depth in the blitzing package. You think they're going to only blitz on 3rd down? Hell no. They can blitz now on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down because they got people that can do it. They got depth now. So guess what that's going to mean? You better be ready to load up on your run. If you can't run the ball and you got to go, and you get one-dimensional against the Eagles, your quarterback's going to be facing some heavy pressure, possibility getting flattened in that backfield. So, hey, you got to take it what it costs. The Eagles are now healthier than never in the blitzing business.
Well, this move for the Eagles already helped solidify a pretty solid pass rush. I mean, they're top 10 in sacks. They're top 10 in the hurry percentage. They don't blitz a ton. They're kind of bottom half of the league in blitz percentage. But this helps solidify and brings another pass rusher in what's now become a really tough and really tight NFC East. Because you have to make sure that you're staying paces ahead of the 6-1 Giants, the Cowboys, who are also only 2 games back. I don't know about going undefeated. However, looking at the Eagles' schedule earlier this year, going into the season, it looked like a pretty favorable schedule anyway. So I would not entirely be surprised to see them only lose maybe 2 games, maybe 3. It just really kind of depends how the rest of this season shapes out. And of course, if everyone's healthy, that's what this move also does, is this move also bringing in Robert Quinn. It's going to help, like you said, with the depth, because now you're not relying just on a few guys on the front 4. You've got an extra body that teams have to game plan for. And if you don't, Robert Quinn, probably the best pass rusher that Chicago had, now he's in the Eagles uniform. and it's going to make it that much more formidable of a pass rush for the Philadelphia Eagles. Packers, Cowboys, Giants, only teams they play that can simply compete. Against you're talking about the Eagles. I haven't looked at the rest of their schedule yet, to be honest with you. Not in a while, at least. So looking at the rest of that schedule, I really don't know how it pans out, but yeah, it's let's see who they got. They're on a bye week this week. Steelers, that's a win. Texans, that's a win. Commanders, that's a win. The Colts, they don't know what they're doing at quarterback. They're rolling with Sam Ellinger, and they hope to God that's going to work. Eagles can win that. Packers have not looked good, and they can't stop the run either. So that's also a win. Tennessee might be the hardest game for them over the next 5 to 6 games. And then they got the Giants. It depends on if they can keep their hot streak going. Bears. It depends on if they continue to play the way they have the last couple of weeks. That's going to be a closer game potentially if they can limit Jalen Hurts.
Robert Quinn back going for the Bears. It's going to be a hard game for the Bears to win because he's going to be pumped for that game. So,
yeah, absolutely. He's going to want to tee off on that. But so they play the Giants twice. They play the Saints in week 17. There's a lot of wins. There's a lot of wins on this schedule because Anthony Price is looking at that. He's got him going 16-1.
And they got the Cowboys on Christmas Eve. So,
yeah, Cowboys. Oh man, that's going to be a great game. That's Christmas will come early for everybody. So I think that's going to be. They have a couple of tough games. The Eagles do. I think the Titans are going to be tough. The Giants are going to play them tough. Cowboys are obviously going to be the Cowboys. That's going to be a fairly tough game, I think. Even though the last one was 26-17. Let's see. The Bears, it just kind of depends on how the Bears are rolling at that point. But I still see this team, if they lose, they could lose against Tennessee. They could lose one game against the Giants, and they could lose one game against the Cowboys. So even if you're being very pessimistic, 3 or 4 losses tops, I think.
I don't know if it's snowing in Philadelphia when Tennessee comes rolling around. I don't know. I'd be scared to get hit with batteries inside of a snowball.
Yeah, Philly's pretty rough. Philly's pretty rough. Damien's got the question: Do y'all see DeAndre Swift get traded? Man, as a Lions fan, that's tough because the hardest thing about the Lions as they're currently constructed, they have 0 depth. And we saw that in the Cowboys game where they outplayed the Cowboys for 3 quarters, and then Jamal Williams gets down to the goal line, never lost a fumble in his career, loses a fumble. The Lions. I've been trying to get away from we in Detroit, we call them SOL, the same old Lions. They find new ways to lose every single week. I'm trying so hard to stay away from that, but it's really hard to stay away from that. DeAndre Swift is uber talented when he's healthy. I tend to agree with Ron here. He's not going to get traded by the deadline. That's not going to happen. The Lions could make a trade at the deadline. I just feel like they're going to do something where they go and trade for like Mason Rudolph or something. And then that way he's now the starter partway through the year. Yeah, the fumble thing is it's very funny and ironic. Like, Brock Wright comes literally half a yard short. They spot him a full yard short, and then Jamal Williams just runs right into the line. He didn't even have a hole to run into. First of all, he was running into a brick wall, and he just dropped it.
Game
so
Lynch
it's a very Lions thing to do. But I don't see DeAndre Swift get traded. Now, I do feel like somebody like a TJ Hawkinson might get traded because you have to. So Dawson Knox in the offseason got paid like one of the top tight ends in the league. And TJ Hawkinson is miles ahead of Dawson Knox. He's better than Dawson Knox. So he's going to demand top tight end money. And for somebody like him who's very inconsistent and can't block for anything. That's in this spot, the Lions are not in a position to where it's worth paying him. It's not in a position to worth paying him. I'm not saying TJ's gonna get traded. I'm saying that's more likely than DeAndre Swift at this point. So sorry, Damien, I know that's a long-winded answer, but that's kind of where
that's coming from a Lions fan. So he's gonna give you a long-winded answer because he had to think about what he wanted to say.
It's like anytime me talking about the Lions, the same thing. Anytime we get you talking about the Jaguars, it's like, you're so close to the team, so you see and you feel that stuff. So, but let us know in the comments who you think will get traded at the deadline, who's going to make the biggest splash. Definitely let us know in the comments down below. And we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back on ASAP in the morning.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
What did you say?
I said Kobe Bean Bryant has been overrated ever since he passed away.
Now, I'd say they could lose about 4, but I don't see them losing 5. You know what I mean?
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
This is the Fox D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at foxdnetwork.com.
Welcome back to ASAP in the morning. I am your host, Craig Campbell, joined as always by Ray Cruz. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, as well as the Fox D Network, Tiki Live, and on the Roku app. Gonna change gears a little bit, and there's been some new NFL stadium renderings that have come out in the last day or so. One of them being this morning, the Buffalo Bills released some renderings of what a new stadium could look like in the city of Buffalo. And I know this is something that comes up every so often. New stadiums, they got to be all state of the art. I see this, and then we'll show you. Tennessee also was another one. We'll show you that in a second. But Buffalo Stadium, I'm kind of surprised that Buffalo would still opt to go with the same open stadium concept. I don't know how easy it is to see, but you see it's kind of got that like soccer style stadium outer shell. It's interesting.
Well, to me, you asked that question. Why do we keep going to open? There is an advantage for that. They play in Buffalo during the wintertime. Snow. A team is going to get cold. Why would you risk putting a stadium, indoor stadium to that atmosphere? Now, on the other hand, on the opposite side is they will never get the Super Bowl because it's going to be cold up there. So that's another advantage. Now, I would have seen if they would have put a retractable roof where you can open and shut it.
Yeah. But
they're not that rich of a city, so it costs a lot of money to get you one of those stadiums. They got to open up that roof and close that roof. So
that's what I want to know. Because like all these new stadiums, they're like multi-billion-dollar stadiums at this point. And you know the people of the city are going to be paying for that. Like,
I'm gonna tell you something here. Jacksonville Jaguars got two big, humongous scoreboards. You put them down side by side, you cover the whole football field, and it lights up the whole entire stadium without even putting them freaking lights on.
Yeah.
But you know how much it costs the city? $4 million for the light bill for that. When they turn it on, they got to turn it on Saturday at 4 a.m. for a 1 o'clock game to get enough time to get it warmed up. So now you got to put a city with the roof. Now, Jacksonville, I tell you, we need a roof. We need some kind of shade. I sit in the shade at I get there at 12:30, 1 o'clock for a 1 o'clock game.
That's a place that needs shade desperately.
I sit on the east side because there's no way I can afford sitting on the home side because there's an extra $1,000 on top of the $2,100 I pay for my seats.
I go to the Bud Zone. Anytime I go to Jacksonville, I go to the Bud Zone. I don't care where my tickets are.
It still don't matter. Unless you're inside the Bud Zone, it doesn't matter because it stays all the way up. It stays heat, sun.
There's no
on
shade. There's no shade.
And it takes the NFL teams to pay guys to put shade over top of them because they're sitting in the dead hot sun all game long. So
yeah, and I get that. Yeah, that's what I think. Like, I think Miami did it pretty well. They have some shade. I like the retractable roof idea. I understand if you're Buffalo and you put a new stadium out. This helps with your home field advantage to keep it open. You build the stadium not expecting that you're going to get the Super Bowl because unless you do a retractable roof or a dome stadium, which is actually what Tennessee's renderings have come out earlier this week, this one looks legit. I mean, you put this in Nashville, I would go see a game here. Well,
you got to understand, you got the country singers, you got future country singers. You got a city that got all kinds of freaking record labels that are in that city alone. So if you want to tap into the business there, you got enough money there to tap in. Future country singers are multi-millions. They live in Nashville, Tennessee. Where they play at? Nashville, Tennessee. You're going to get the rich gets richer. That's what we're talking about. I bet you that owner went out and say, hey, look, let's do a cut. We get CMT comes there. CMT goes to Memphis, goes to Nashville. They have a big country fest. That brings in millions of dollars for the city alone that you ain't going to worry handing your taxpayer people that live there. They can raise CMT, say, hey, let's bring a country fest here. You're going to get millions of people. Grand Ole Opry's there. So people go see the Grand Ole Opry. You tax them. So, of course, you're going to get a amazing-looking stadium like that. So,
yeah, this looks phenomenal. I think this would be a great stadium if they put this together. Yeah, the park at the Titans, I think, was built in late 90s, I want to say. I'm looking that up. I want to fact check myself here. Yeah, there's one place that does need it really bad, Anthony. That's Washington. But hey, you're talking about.
All right. There, Nissan Stadium was formerly known as the Aquana Coliseum in 1999 to 2022. The Coliseum of 2022-26 was LP Field. So this stadium was put around since 1999.
Yeah, there you go. 99. Um, let's see. What's some of the older stadiums? So with Buffalo Stadium, their stadium has been around since 1973. And so I know it's been a topic of conversation because with the way that city is, and they've talked about when that changes ownership, they're talking about potentially Buffalo could have moved at one point. But I know now that they've kind of had a resurgence. And yeah, I mean that you're talking about in Buffalo. Yeah, it's been around since 73 and that one desperately needs it. Tennessee is a little bit different because you mentioned it did open in 99, but this looks legit. I think this would probably be actually Soldier Field is the oldest stadium by like 30 years.
Yeah, but Soldier Field had a facelift.
Yeah,
so
well, I mean,
did
Lambeau.
So did Green Bay. So did Lambeau Field too.
Yeah.
Had a facelift.
Yeah, Soldier Field opened in 1924, and Lambeau Field was opened in 57.
Yeah, but both of stadiums had a facelift. So,
but yeah, this I think this rendering looks pretty cool. I would like that better than Buffalo's. I think I understand the aesthetic they're going for, but it looks interesting. It looks really interesting. I would think like, all right, what's the next stadium that should get, or I should say, what's the next team that should get a new stadium? I already have an answer.
Okay. What's your answer?
Jacksonville.
They ain't getting a new stadium.
I think Jacksonville is one that really needs a new stadium.
I'm gonna tell you why they ain't gonna get a new stadium. They just brought in an architect guy who said that the old stadium is in structural sound. Guess that what means? They're gonna they're gonna do a facelift to it. They're not gonna build a new stadium. They're gonna do a facelift to it. If Lenny Curry stays mayor of Jacksonville, and don't want to get a new mayor, ain't not gonna happen to that stadium. Nothing.
I was talking with somebody yesterday, a place that I didn't realize was the stadium was that old. Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay. Tampa Stadium was opened in 98. And I was talking to somebody yesterday about it because we're talking about the Thursday night game. And it's like, man, I've never been there. I want to go see it. And he goes, it's a complete dump. He's like, it's not worth it. Don't go.
I've been there. Been there a couple times.
Yeah. So Raymond James Stadium, I think, is that's another one I was just thinking about.
For the people in Jacksonville, they're not going to do anything, but they're going to facelift. When they built the stadium on the old Gator Bowl. The home side is the original Gator Bowl. Everything else is new. So the structure at Jacksonville Stadium at TIA Bank Field is structurally sound. They're going to do nothing but upgrades. They have to upgrade it because the NFL's already came in and said, you got to do something. So they had an architect to come and do it. And he said, we can make it look better. We can make it look where it needs to be looking, and we can do a lot of upgrades to the stadium.
Yeah.
So on top of that, you got the two biggest scoreboards in the NFL, outdoor scoreboards in the NFL.
Just put a retractable roof over it. That's all I ask. That's all I ask for.
What they are going to do for that is they're doing some sort of like what they did in Miami, is to put those things over top of the stands a little bit, but they are trying to figure out where they can keep the team in the sunlight. The visiting team in the sunlight. Yeah.
That's what happens in Miami.
Because the reason for that is when Green Bay comes, we want them to afford $4 million. They want them to afford to pay a rental for an air conditioning system that puts on the shoulder pads of Aaron Rodgers. Yes, I'm not lying.
No, that's a thing.
When the Green Bay Packers come here, they have an air conditioning system to hook up Aaron Rodgers' shoulder pads to an AC to keep him cool.
Yep.
So
that's what some of these places are also kind of like Anthony's comment, where they're just kind of revamping some stadiums because building new stadiums is a huge endeavor, and you have to have the funding. The city has to agree with it because most of the time the taxpayers are going to end up paying for it. You got to make sure that the price tag isn't too wild that it can be voted on. And you got to have the space for it. Jacksonville doesn't have the space for it right now.
Well, Jacksonville's got a lot of space because it's the largest landmass in the United States, and they're developing every single inch of this freaking place.
Okay. What I'm saying is the downtown area, there's no space.
But the problem with that is they don't want to take it out of downtown because you still have all those interstates that are interchangeable to get you out of there quicker. If the stadium has to go somewhere else in Jacksonville, you only have one interstate leading into that. You have multiple. Yeah. You have the Arlington Express leading out of there. You have the Heartbreak Bridge leading out. You have downtown Union Street leading out. You have over by the Maxwell House International Bay Street leading you out. You have multiple, and you have the Martin Luther King Parkway leading you out of there. So they're not going to change where the location of the stadium is. But Shad Khan has said that he has the money to renovate, and the stadium is sound mount. The infrastructure is good. So why do you want to go build another stadium that the infrastructure is good, but you can add to that stadium? They added a dog. I'm telling you, they added a freaking dog park to the stadium. If you want to bring your dog to Jacksonville, you can buy a ticket and put your dog in paradise. I'm gonna tell you, it's
pretty cool, actually.
They have a swimming pool for your dog.
It's up by the pool. It's up by the swimming pools.
No, it's on the other side of the swim pool's on one side. It's above the bud zone and that very top layer of the bud zone.
That's right.
So if you want to bring your dogs, yes, Jacksonville is dog friendly now. You can bring your dogs. Yeah. And they got a dog park. You put them in your dog park. You go sit at your seat. Your dog's playing with the pool up there while you're watching the game. You go back and pick your dog up after the game, and there you go. But they also have what you call another zone, which is after the game's over, what they call the fifth quarter deck party. It used to be called the Cavalier deck. I don't know. It's called Grainer or something now. But that deck right there is where you got your swimming pools. So you got your swimming pools. That's another upgrade there. Then you got your little concert patio part that they do up there. And they're going to call the fifth quarter. So when you get done and you want to drink some more while the traffic is going down, you go up there and watch other games on the big scoreboard. They put them on the big scoreboard after the game's over.
I tell you what though, Anthony, they get cleaned like normal pools.
Let me ask you about Anthony. That pool gets cleaned at halftime of the game. Before the fourth quarter, they get everybody out to do a pool cleaning. That pool is so clean
during the game.
That thing is so nice. But the Georgia-Florida game, they did drain the pools because Florida and Georgia don't want the pool, so they're putting seats over top of that. So.
Yeah, they put over top. The one thing I will say this though, the pools are great. Those tickets are too damn expensive to even get access to the pool because you got to get the cabanas at the top of the thing. Those are cool, but those are way too damn expensive.
Well, when they put the girls in there with the bikinis, they give them the tickets so they can put the bikini girls in there. So.
Yeah, of course. It goes on national television. Yeah, I mean, if I own the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'd probably do the same damn thing. Anthony mentioned the Saints. That stadium's old too. That's the Superdome, and that's been around since 70s, I think. 75. Yeah. Been around since 1975. It's like that's a stadium that probably could use a major uplift.
Called the Caesar Superdome. It used to call what it was. It was
just the Louisiana Superdome at one point.
So it's now called Caesar Superdome. Now, so
Damien's comment: I don't get why stadiums need roofs. I mean, it causes problems having roofs at stadiums. That's the same. So that's yes and no. The old stadiums, the old dome stadiums, like old Pontiac Silverdome, the old one that Minnesota was in, I forget what it was called. and then places like that, it's the roofs were built in a different way to where the dome could collapse. But these new roofs that they put on top of these they're domed structures that won't collapse due to, well, the thing that happened in Minnesota was too much snow got on top of it. You don't have to worry about that in the South, but they got too much snow on top of it and it collapsed. The way they build stadiums now, they don't construct them that way anymore. So they're more it's a little bit better, more well done, I should say. But why stadiums are going up with retractable or fixed roofs on top of them is because that way you don't have to worry about games being played in the elements. That's like why baseball stadiums are now being made with retractable roofs, so that way you don't miss out on games and you don't miss out on rain delays and all that kind of stuff. And then the Warriors, when they played the Mavericks, that was I think just a leak. That just happens, you know. The Superdome was flooded with Hurricane Katrina.
It was called Minnesota's was called a Herbert H. Humphrey Metrodome.
Yeah, the Metrodome. Yep. Herbert H. Humphrey Metrodome. Yeah.
And that's when they got a hurricane or something that blew the top off or something.
No, it was snow. It was snow. They had a big snowstorm, and the stadium roof collapsed due to the weight of the snow. And that's a real thing that does happen. All right. But yeah, let us know in the comments. I know we had a few questions in here from earlier as well regarding the trade deadline. What was that question? I'm trying to find it. Will Sam Darnold get traded? Doubtful.
Yes, he will get traded to the Space Ghost team.
The Space Ghost team.
He will be traded down to Port Canaveral to the Space Force.
To the Space Force.
So.
I don't think Sam Darnold gets traded. I don't think anybody really wants any of those guys, or even like Baker Mayfield, like those guys. I think their NFL life as a starter is pretty much over at this point. I don't think that's going to be anybody wants them. Anthony asked earlier, do you think Djax will make an impact on the Ravens, or is it a waste of money? I think it was kind of a bad move in general to just get rid of Hollywood Brown. One of your only deep threats, and now you're bringing in a guy who much older, little bit of a different skill set. I think it's going to end up being a waste of money. But that's just me. I don't think he's going to make that much of an impact on this offense that really kind of moves the needle for them. But moving on to Major League Baseball, the World Series gets started tomorrow. The Phillies and the Astros, and we've talked a little bit on this show about Aaron Judge and the Yankees, and what's the situation going to be? What's the decision for Aaron Judge? Does he want to stay in New York? Does he want to go elsewhere? What do the Yankees need to do to help reload themselves and beat the Astros? Well, it's come out now late last night, early this morning, that owner Hal Steinbrenner said that Aaron Boone is expected to be back as manager for the Yankees in 2023. I guess, Ray, is this a good move by the Yankees to keep Aaron Boone?
No. Not me. Why? Unless Aaron Boone's got some dirt on some of the Steinbrenners, But they know. Aaron Boone he's better suited sitting in the freaking ESPN game day, Major League Baseball game day studio talking about baseball. I give him that. He's pretty good at that. But coming a manager, he hasn't shown me anything but getting you to the playoffs and then losing. He's not going to be he's a World Series player, but he's not a World Series manager. So to get to the next level, you got to figure out a person who can get you to the next level. But Steinbrenner thinks that Boone's going to get him to the next level. That's probably why he's keeping him. But now the question is, does Aaron Judge want to play for Aaron Boone? And that's going to be your top. That's going to be your thing. That's got to be the deciding factor for the Yankees. Does Aaron Judge want to play for Boone? That's got to be the thing. And if the Yankees are serious in keeping Aaron Judge, you might want to go talk to him and find out if that's who he wants to be as manager. If they don't, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get in the door to talk to him.
Here was the question I posed to Ron yesterday on the morning show. If not Aaron Boone, who else? Who's going to manage the Yankees? Because the Yankees like to go after the names they like to go after the big names. They're not going to go after Joe Girardi again. You might get, I think Don Mattingly was the name that kind of was the consensus that we came up with could manage the Yankees. I don't think all of this is an Aaron Boone problem. He won 99 games this year. He's made the playoffs every year that he's been the manager, and he's got a 600 winning percentage and a couple of division titles. Yes, he's struggled in the playoffs, but I think in my honest opinion, part of that is on him, but most of that is on Cashman in the front office. The way that they are constructing this team, it's like a fantasy football team that's boom or bust. You're in a non-PPR league, and the only way that you're going to win games is if guys have multiple touchdowns at wide receiver. The boom or bust wide receiver thing, that to me is what the Yankees are. They're home run or bust. They have a high home run rate, but they have a high strikeout rate. They're not the type of team. They're the type of team that will get their asses handed to them by the Houston Astros because they're fundamentally different baseball teams. And the way that the Yankees set their lineups and construct their roster, they're not going to ever beat the Astros until they fundamentally change how they construct the roster. That's not all on Aaron Boone. I know he's had his shortcomings, but if you're looking at who do you turn to, that's my question is I'm okay if you want to fire Aaron Boone because he's not getting to the World Series, the longest drought since 2009 for the Yankees of winning a championship, or, so it's been a long time. Yes. Who are you going to turn to if not Aaron Boone? That's the question I have, which is why I think you got to stick with him at this point.
Well, I can answer your question. That's going to be Terry Francona. Francona's not going to leave Cleveland. That's going to be your problem. He's already said that he wants to be back in Cleveland. So to turn the Yankees around, yes, you're going to look at the Mad Hatter, the man that made the Red Sox and what they wanted to be at a certain point. Terry Francona will be that manager. But the Cleveland Guardians has got him locked down, so that's out of the question for the Yankees. And answer to this question, Pete Rose to the Yankees, he said, laughing out loud, no, Pete Rose is banned from baseball. He can't manage baseball again. But Pete Rose could take the Yankees to the next level, but he is banned from baseball, and he's been out of the game for a while. So now Pete Rose is going to stay in the WWE Hall of Fame and do that stuff.
I know what Damian's going for here. He's going for the joke factor, and that I can appreciate. But yeah, obviously that's my thing is come up, like I could Google search the top MLB managing candidates, and I might find another name or two that might pop out, but there's really not anyone out there, in my opinion, that the Yankees would go, yeah, this definitely is the guy that we want instead of Aaron Boone.
I
just don't see anybody out there.
I didn't Google that. Terry Francona is just going to be the man that can answer the Yankees' problems. But the problem with that is he's locked up and he's already going back to Cleveland. He doesn't want to touch bases with the Yankees. He's even came out and said that before. He doesn't want to touch bases because Cashman, I'm telling you, Cashman should have been gone long, long time ago. And nobody wanted to believe me. Nobody wanted to believe me when I said I got laughed at by the Yankees. All the Yankees fans, when I said it about 4 years ago, I mentioned on my Facebook page about 4.5 years ago that Cashman should have been gone. He should have been gone, never been taking place. Everybody laughing at me. Now, how you feel me now? 2009, you haven't won the World Series to 2009. What has Cashman done? Not a damn thing for you. Not a damn thing. So,
yeah, I think that. Oh, Damian, And I don't know. I know you're not serious for this one. Alex Rodriguez can't even navigate his way through a major league broadcast as an announcer without saying something stupid, let alone having him be in front of reporters every day.
He
He
wants to turn the Yankees into PED.
That would be comedy gold if Alex Rodriguez became a manager, especially for the Yankees. Yeah, and that's our point. That's our point, Sting Son, is Cashman's a guy that's where it's got to change. If the Yankees want to get better, I think you have to make the change at Cashman. That's where it starts, because Aaron Boone's not the guy that has gone out and constructed this roster the way it currently sits. They call them the Bronx Bombers for a reason right now. And that has nothing to do with Boone. He can only work with what he has on the roster. A lot of that is Cashman. All right. So just out of curiosity, I was looking up available managers for in Major League Baseball. This is from kind of last year or whatever, but Joe Madden is a name that came up. He would not go to the Yankees. Dave Roberts is a name that came up, former Dodgers manager.
So you're going to go from Boone to Roberts, who can't do the same thing that Boone can't do either with the Yankees. Go to the World Series.
I'm just throwing out names here. I'm just throwing out names. I'm not throwing out endorsements. I'm throwing out names.
I'm just saying though. I mean, I could throw out a lot of names, available managers here. But Bobby Cox ain't gonna do it. I don't know why they keep Bobby Cox's name is on the freaking thing. He's
is he still alive?
Dead.
I don't think he's still alive.
I think he's dead now.
Yeah, he's been gone.
No, I think he just passed away.
Yeah, I think he's been gone. But I mean, some other names that have come up, like you won't see a guy like David Ross take it over. Let's see. Don Mattingly was the one that we kind of talked about. If I were honestly considering making a deep run at the playoffs and making a deep run at the World Series, I would. It's probably tampering, but there's two guys that I would look at to really make a hard run at. One is Kevin Cash in Tampa. I know he's not going anywhere, but I'm just saying, if you're the Yankees and you spend money and you want guys that know how to really navigate a playoff scenario and know how to push the right buttons, Kevin Cash is one. The other one is AJ Hinch in Detroit. I think those two guys would be probably at the top of my wish list if I'm the Yankees. But again, both of those guys are under contract. I'm just kind of throwing out some hypotheticals here. But that brings me back to my point. If you get rid of Aaron Boone, who are you going with? Joe Madden is the only one I think that's actually available outside of Don Mattingly. I mean, you're not going to go after Tony La Russa at all. That doesn't make sense. Well, he kind of got forced out because he shouldn't have been brought back as a manager to begin with. He's just in really tight with the ownership of the White Sox. He never should have been brought back as a manager. But that's a whole different point.
Yeah, he's gone. I mean,
yeah,
he's like 77 years old. People still listen. Bobby Cox is 80. He's 81. He's still living. He's 81.
There you go. And yeah, that's I think Joe Madden is probably the only person out of that list. I think the list would go down to two guys, him and Mattingly. But I don't think Joe Madden would want to take it. Like, he just went through a whole debacle with the Angels.
Yeah, Joe Madden won't take it because he don't like Cashman. He's already came out and said, if you get rid of Cashman, then we come and talk. You got Cashman, don't come and talk to me. So,
But so there's a few different ways. And I don't think this is not the biggest worry for the Yankees right now is Aaron Boone. I know we love to talk about the hypotheticals of who could be the manager there, but for the Yankees, they have to look in the mirror about what are they going to do with this roster next year? What you got to first and just make a decision on, are you going to go and get Aaron Judge first and foremost? If you're not, okay, that is what it is. But as the Yankees, they have to go. I think you have to go and get Aaron Judge, and then you have to address the rest of the roster. Rizzo did really well in the postseason. I think they've got to try to find a way to part ways with somebody like a Giancarlo Stanton. You got to go get guys that can get you on base. Like guys, you don't have to go and get a bunch of power hitters. That's only going to work in the regular season. That's not going to work statistically in the postseason. Look at what Judge did this postseason. He did not do well. Most of the Yankees did not do well.
But if you look at it though, Yankees were set up to number power, home run, blah blah blah. Baseball is not set up to where you can go get power hitters from batter one all the way down to your eighth batter, and then you got your pitcher, your ninth batter in the National League. It is not set up that way. You gotta have people who can get on base, steal bases, play aggressive baseball, and then you have timely home run hitters to come up at a timely spot. Yankees try to do a home run hitter at number 3, number 4, number 5. But your first two guys don't get on base.
Yeah, and that's a point you've made in the past, is that it's all well and good if every time either Stanton or Judge get up to the plate, they hit a home run, but it's only a solo shot. You don't have anybody on base. You're essentially expecting Aaron Judge to hit 50 to 60 home runs per year to give you that boost of offense. And I think that's the biggest thing they have to look at, is they have to figure out how to revamp. Not only, their bullpen definitely needs some work. They need some work defensively. They've got a lot of holes on this team that have just been kind of overshadowed by the fact that you've got Judge chasing history. He and Giancarlo Stanton hitting a lot of home runs in the American League. There's a lot of other holes here. The rules do change next year. The shift is going to be essentially banned. You can't do the shifts that you're allowed to do right now. You have to have 2 players on each side of second base. So you can move somebody to the top of second base. You can't have 3 guys on one side and then 1 on the other now. You have to.
You know why they're doing it, right? High schools are starting doing what Major League does, shifting players over to the other side, and some of these players are getting hurt. Baseball is never played where you can shift infielders to different sections of the thing. What they did with the shift was you moved your shortstop closer to the second base, but on the same side of where the shortstop was. But now when the Major League Baseball decided to do the shift where you can put 3 on this side and this side, teams like college and high school starting to mirror what they were doing, and they were getting players hurt like that. Baseball is meant to keep your shortstop on the shortstop side, your second baseman on the second base, your first base. That's why they are assigned that position. We can't have the players can't hit to those positions. You take away the fun of the game. The fun of the game is getting more base hits and getting people on base, and you trying to stop with your strategy of your defender. But when you started shifting everybody over to this and cut down on these plays, you took the fun out of baseball.
Well, it's not. I don't really think it's that specifically, but what in an analytics world now in baseball, you're starting to see that more and more of these next level statistics coming out. They've been noticing over the last few years that many players are more likely to be pull hitters then hit to the opposite field. Like, it's very rare to find guys that can hit in all parts of the field. So you adjust that defensively for I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but he was with the Yankees. Joey Gallo. There you go. Joey Gallo is an extreme pull hitter, and he's one that this shift is actually going to help out a lot. And that's why they're getting rid of this shift, is the fact that some guys are so good at being pull hitters that that defenses are making those adjustments, and now they're not getting as many base hits. They're not getting as many. They're just not getting on base as much. So now, by getting rid of that shift, guys like Joey Gallo or guys that are extreme pull hitters are now going to be more likely to get on base in a theoretical sense, because you're banning those shifts, which help, make them kind of took away their effectiveness. So that's the reason why the shift is happening, or the banning of the shift is happening, is they're trying to allow for those pull hitters, those extreme pull hitters, to basically have a chance again. Because Joey Gallo was hitting under 100 with the Yankees. It was awful. But before teams were catching on to that, he was hitting. I mean, he's hitting stuff down the right field line every single time, and they weren't shifting enough, and he was becoming effective. So now it's just like in the NFL, as defenses adapt to the play styles of offenses. The same thing in baseball. If you want to get better, you got to learn how to hit the other way. You got to learn how to become a more well-rounded hitter. And guys, it's not beneficial for a lot of guys to do that, which is why you see a lot of guys are more pull hitters. And now, because of that, the shifts have gotten so crazy. They want to try to help generate more offense. That's what Major League Baseball is wanting to do. So I think you're going to see pull hitters like Joey Gallo are going to now see some increased numbers once these rules go into effect.
Well, to me, you hit it right on the button when you said analytics. Baseball, sports have gotten too much into these analytics crap. That's what I call it. I call it analytics crap.
Uh-oh, he's going, get off my porch on us.
Because I'm going to tell you why. Everything have you seen baseball over 100 years ago never had these analytics. Nobody had problems with baseball. You had managers who had to be managers, not managers who read a card on this analytic crap saying, hey, this says here, all right, but let's go over here. The managers are being called. You writing a script out for the managers. I want the managers going back to being managers who's got to go back and be strategized. That's who you get these great managers from. And I'm going to tell you, I give props to Snickers, the Braves manager. He told the analytics guy to go get out of his dugout. He says, I know what I need to do and when I need to do it. He won the World Series by not listening to these stupid analytics. But we know sports has changed to these analytics. Computers all got this stuff, got these modules, got all kinds of stuff, run these scenarios to give you a better outlook. I can understand that. But when you go to these analytics and you take away from the game of baseball or a game of football or a game of strategizing, what is baseball mostly is? It is considered your manager strategize when to take out the pitcher, know when the pitchers go, know when to squeeze butt. That's all been erased. How many times have you seen somebody come up with a squeeze bunt? The Braves did one in the Philly series, but it was accidentally swung, and it turned out to be a bunt type deal. And Riley scored a run. But I like to go back to baseball where it was back in 100 years ago, where you got to put a guy up there, hey, you're going to bunt to move the guy over to second base. That's strategy baseball. That is strategy playing baseball. That's a way of being effective playing baseball. Now you got everybody's time to want to go hit home runs, put the ball over the fence. You got players who can do that, but what happened to the teams where you have basers in the first, second, and third slot, and your fourth is your cleanup guy? That's why they call it cleanup. Now, if you got guys who's batting up in the second, third, and fourth, and fifth, and sixth, who all can hit home runs, you're eliminating more runs you can hit with your power hitters, getting more runs when you got player on base than when you got back-to-back home runs. You get 3 runs. Yeah, I want 2 guys on base. My cleanup, 3 guys on base. My cleanup comes up and hits a grand slam. I got 4 runs. You know, that's the kind of baseball you're looking for. And I'm glad they're going back to this. They ain't changing rules and putting a time limit. And they also put an inning time limit now, which is going to go down to 25 seconds instead of 30 seconds or something like that. I think they're changing that too. So, you know, baseball is trying to find a way to get back to being baseball itself.
Well, I think that's a little bit of that's a good point about. I don't think a lot of people don't realize. I had this conversation with somebody a couple weeks ago watching playoff baseball. They're like, "Well, I just can't sit through a whole baseball game." Yeah, it's not exciting like NFL. It's not exciting like NBA. It's not exciting like NHL. It is so much more of a strategic game because legitimately what you're doing is you're in a mental and physical battle with the batter if you're a pitcher every single pitch. It's such an analytical, like, deep thought game that it's not going to be like football, basketball, where it's high scoring, lots of action. You know, that's part of where our attention spans are, not only as human beings, but as sports fans. We want to see all this high action. Baseball can only do so much. And then basically you're just, hey, let's just play slow pitch softball and just toss it up and see what happens. At that point, that's where you got to try to find that line. And Major League Baseball, to their credit, is trying to do that. But I like the idea of the shift, but that's where the analytics are great to an extent. That part I agree with. I don't like the guys in the dugout that are being like, hey, analytics says do this. And you're seeing that in the NFL now. Analytics are great to help give you the big picture about how somebody's doing, but don't utilize that to navigate all of your decisions day in and day out. That's not what analytics is for, in my opinion. But that's what we're seeing in Major League Baseball. It's what we're seeing in now the NFL. Analytics has become the end all be all. And I think that takes out the human element in the strategy that you talk about. There's a few managers that still do that. And that's the best part, is that you still have some of those managers that are willing to still do, like, hey, all right, we got men on first and second, we got no outs, and this guy's not a great hitter. We're going to have him laid out a bunt, and we're going to try to move the runners up in a critical situation. Not a lot of guys do that. But yeah, Sting's son, I think that's part of it too, is the next generations that come up. And it starts with the generation that I grew up in, is that once we hit our teenage years into early 20s, technology and social media and all that really, like, went into overdrive, to where now you have kids, like, for example, one of our kids at home, he'll play Madden. He'll only get through the second quarter and he gets bored and wants to go do something else. Like, he won't even sit through a full game. So it's like, it's to have someone sit and watch a 3-hour baseball game without understanding the strategy of kind of what's going on. That makes it much more difficult, and it puts Major League Baseball in a really tough position to try to draw those casual fans, which is why we see some of these moves that are being made to ban shifts to try to generate more base runners, generate more offense. So I get what they're trying to do.
I mean, I understand you growing up in different things in different places, but I'm gonna tell you, when I grew up and when I started playing baseball, we were taught that this wasn't an attractive game, and strategy and ability of fast action. That's what my coach told me. He says, you want to play this game because you love this game, because you want to be a strategist and stuff like that. It's not going to be attractive. Some people can't watch it on TV. It's better going to baseball games than watching on TV. Yes, it is. I can tell you to a point. Yes, it is, because back then you had girls taking their shirts off, waving their tatas in front of you. So you have characters of fans in games and stuff like that. So as a fan, you go there. That's what baseball fans used to do. But I understand that. I understand what you're saying, going to fast pace, because yes, I have kids that play strategy. They like playing not sports games, but they play freaking Minecraft, building all kinds of stuff, stuff like that, strategy wise and stuff like that. But if you teach these kids growing up saying, hey, look, baseball is not attractive, it's going to take you a while to get them to figure out, okay, this is how do you make it fun? And how do I make it fun? I would sit at home with a card sheet, think I'm a freaking manager of these teams, and say, hey, okay, I think he needs to go ahead and change the pitcher out this inning. And my dad Al always asks me, why? Why you want him to change out this pitcher? And I go back and tell him, I said, his fastball is lost by 5 or 6 miles per hour during the game. I said, he's starting to get hit now, and now it's time for him to get out because his arm's getting tired. My dad looked at me and said, that's a valid point. So you can make it interesting watching these games if you had a father like mine was, who was a baseball strategist. He didn't watch football. He didn't watch basketball. He watched baseball, and he asked, and I make a comment, and he'll want me to explain my comment. I'm like, yeah, I'm watching the game. He said, I don't care. Just explain me your comment. Why you want them to change this? So I had to go back and look at him and say, okay, the first inning, his fastball was at 99 miles per hour. Now his fastball is going from 99 down, and by the 6th inning, it's going from 99 to 93. He's lost 6 miles an hour to the fastball. So that means his arm's getting tired. That's why I told him. I said, he's throwing a lot of gag pitches now to him. That's why my dad said, okay. But to get to your point, fast-paced baseball, you want to get more fans to watch it, and the only way you're going to get them to watch it is to speed up the game. But you need to add a little more strategy to it. And back then, they started adding more trivia questions to ball games. They need to get back to that. Telecasts need to get back to asking these questions during certain innings. All
right, so I want to bring this back up. Sting Sunrays had said, he made a good point. Both are normally about 3-hour games. I want to show you something that was this was from 2020. I want to bring this up on the screen. So if you read this, the average length of an NFL game is 3 hours and 12 minutes with 11 minutes of actual gameplay. Major League Baseball, 3 hours, 5 minutes, shorter with 18 minutes of actual gameplay, meaning over 90% of the time watching an NFL or MLB game is without live action. Yeah. Think about the NFL. There's more commercials. Every time there's a stoppage of play, they go to commercial. Every time, there's a lot of that going on. So I agree with Sting Sun here that it's people not, I think, understanding the beauty and strategy that goes into the battle of a pitcher and a hitter, the strategy of changing your defense to try to take away a pull hitter versus in the NFL, it's when that action does happen, it seems to happen more, I would say more quickly, to where you've got guys running at full speed, colliding into each other. I mean, if you really want to go all the way back into human existence, we love violence as a race. We love violence. Look at some of the most popular things throughout human history. Gladiatorial games were super popular for a long time. Extreme violence, and that's the action that people like. NFL, there's high collision. You've got guys literally running full speed at each other. That's the type of stuff that we like as human beings to watch. So baseball's not really, you mentioned, it's not that pretty sport. But if you understand the next level of why a pitcher's throwing this pitch in this situation, that takes extra level of thinking that I don't think a lot of people are really interested. They're interested in being entertained. They're not in. A lot of people are not interested in being thinking about the game.
If you want to be entertained, go watch the Savannah Bananas. They're entertaining baseball.
And that was the point. It's kind of a comedic act. They understand that.
But I mean, if you want to be serious about sports, every sport's got to take on their identity. Baseball is not an attractive sport. Baseball is a sport that you want to learn strategy, that you want to learn pitching, that you want to learn hitting, situational plays, situational this. When you take your pitcher out, when you not take your pitcher out, when you're going to run over the catcher, or when you're going to try to take the second baseman out when you slide so you can't force to turn the double play. Those are the things that base fanatic likes. And when you talk about 18 minutes of game action, blah, 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 commercials, blah, 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 you could take commercials out of this easily for baseball. How do you do that? You run now you got the computer generated. You can put a tag on the freaking field, say, hey, this inning is brought to you by this, and leave it on the field. You got places in baseball that you can put advertisement on the field as a TV. Down the sidelines, take the white chalk down the sidelines and put your yellow tape down on the TV, on your overlay, and put, hey, this third baseline is brought to you by Tiger, or this first baseline is brought to you by freaking Under Armour.
If you see that, they actually, some parks do that to where the foul poles are sponsored.
Yeah.
And they have, so that's the thing. But here's another thing real quick, because we only got a couple minutes left. But this was research done on all the different sports in America. American football, baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer, the total duration of each game, the amount of live action, and the percent of that action, and how much commercial time.
Commercial time for American football, 75 freaking minutes. I agree with you that. You can watch a football game.
College football's getting bad. College football's getting real bad. I'm going to tell you,
if you watch college football, if you watch it on ESPN, you might as well sit at the football game for 3 to 4 hours, because ESPN will run a commercial if your person gets hurt. They'll run a commercial when they feel like running a commercial. And the guy sitting on the sidelines, you can watch when they're about to go to commercial break. He's got the freaking bright orange gloves on with his hand like this. And you sit there and watch him because at the game that he still is in commercial. And somebody says, why haven't they played? I said, look at the guy right there. He still got his hands up. We must be on CBS for NFL. CBS is worse for NFL. He's got his hand raised like this, and we're sitting here. Then we'll go to commercial when they run freaking the instant replay review. It's a commercial. 75 minutes, I believe that.
Yeah, I believe it.
You can cut that out. You can cut that out by using overlays in the technology. If you really want to use technology, might as well go start using technology for your commercials too.
And that's the thing about these extended. That's the thing about these extended commercial breaks in some of these sports. Like, if you look at a game like soccer, most people in America don't watch soccer regularly. They'll watch it for the World Cup. Maybe they'll watch it if their team, they have an MLS team or something. But for the most part, people won't really tune into soccer as much as they would American football, just because of the style of the game. And part of that is the distribution. Think about it. Like, if you go back to, I don't know, 80s, 90s, right? NFL didn't have the same level of distribution as maybe like an NBA or even baseball, before the strike. Now that this the way it is with all the TV deals and everything like that, all those TV deals, it helps make the NFL much more widely seen to the general public. Baseball, they're having their issues with broadcasting, and they're having their issues with the TV deals with Bally Sports now, where they all own, like, all the teams do their own little thing, versus the NFL. They have league-wide deals that are done. The teams aren't allowed to do it individually. But in other sports like baseball, basketball, hockey, they work with regional sports networks like Bally, who then handcuff their broadcasts because it's distribution. It's all about the money at the end of the day. And I think that's part of why the NFL has really gained so much popularity over the last 20, 30 years, is that distribution is so much easier to access for the general public, and because of the action on the field. And it's not the amount of action, it's more so just the style in which it's being done. You got big highlight hits, you got all this kind of stuff. NHL is the same way. You got some big hits that happen in there. You got fights that happen. Like, hockey's a fun game to attend, but because of how they have their advertising and their distribution to other avenues, the NFL has just kind of done it in a way that now they are the dominant force in that, and they know that. So now they're taking more liberties with having more commercials, having longer commercials. Look at the Super Bowl. It's now become an all-day event because they know people are going to tune in.
Yeah, they're going to tune in, but still, if NFL or people complain about the time length, it ain't cause of the game. It's cause of these stupid commercials.
And they know people are going to tune in, and that's where a lot of the money is made. The money is not made in ticket sales and merchandise and all that kind of stuff. That's part of the pie. Most of these deals, look at college football. Big Ten signed a record deal.
Yeah, with CBS.
Yeah, with CBS, Fox, and with NBC. They signed a record deal with all those, and that has nothing to do with on the field, as that's all just TV revenue. And that's the stuff that is pushing why we're seeing more ads, especially college football games are now longer than NFL games. So,
yeah, when you watch this game on TV, you got to sit back and watch commercials. I tell you what, it's so funny. I watch that college football game. Commercial break goes. I can run downstairs to my car to the store and come back and still haven't missed a play yet.
Yep,
all
absolutely.
Commercial break.
Yeah, and that's a debate we can have all day long. But we are at the end of ASAP in the morning, wrapping up here.
Oh.
So if you want to support the show, if you like what you've seen today, hit that like, hit that sub button, share the stream, comment. We love interacting with everybody. Damian, Sting's son, Rays, Anthony Price joining us this morning. Some of our mainstays there on the YouTube channel. So hit us up there. Definitely helps out the channel. If you want to help support us, you can also send stars on Facebook. That helps the network as a whole and helps ASAP in the morning every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon. You can find us on social media. YouTube, search ASAP Sports Network. Facebook at All Sports All Plays. On Twitter at ASAP Network 1. And on Twitch at ASAP Network. We're live this morning. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. We're also live on the Fox D Network, Tiki Live, and Roku. A bunch of different avenues in which you can tune in to some of your favorite shows on the ASAP Network. We've got college football, there's MMA, there's baseball, there's betting, there's opinion shows. There's a ton of different content here on ASAP Network. So no matter what you're into, ASAP's got you covered. Damien's got one quick question. And I know Sting's son says last stream till the World Series fun day tomorrow. I'm looking forward to World Series tomorrow night. That's going to be a lot of fun. Damien's question before we wrap up. Do y'all see Lamar Jackson getting traded since he still doesn't have a contract? Absolutely not. There's no way Lamar Jackson's getting traded. They will come to an agreement at the end of the season. Lamar Jackson put that out there at the beginning. If we don't make a deal by this day, I'm still going to play. We're going to talk about it at the end of the season. That's a great way to handle it because it limits distractions. Anytime those questions come up in the middle of the season, you can say, hey, I told you at the beginning of the season, we're not talking about this right now. I'm not focused on it. We'll handle it at the end of the season. It'll be up to the Ravens. I think it depends on how well their season goes now. But if Lamar Jackson does not get a contract extension with Baltimore, it's going to be a frenzy of teams to go pay for his services. So
Unless you want to run him quarterback.
Lamar Jackson could fit into more than half of the NFL teams right now and make them significantly better.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
My wife. My wife.
Uh-oh. That's time. That's Ray's time. That's his calling card.
No, my wife's at work. I don't know why she texted me. I got everything turned down. I don't know why her sound's coming up.
See, it's time to go.
She's blowing up my thing.
I know. That's what I'm saying. She said, "Hey, it's 12:04. You're running over. It's time to go."
She goes, "Thanks for this weekend. I appreciate it. I need to pay my tithes." So,
all right. With that said, we will be back tomorrow morning, Friday morning, 10 a.m. here on ASAP in the morning on the ASAP Sports Network. For Ray, I am Craig. Have a great Thursday, everyone. And we will see you tomorrow morning, Friday morning, end of the work week. See you then.
See ya. Peace.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we're making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.